Because Christine is 6.
No, she's only 5.
Okay, so I'll wait till we're recording. Let's see why I have 6. But.
Maybe I scanned
Oh.
All right, we're recording, Marvin? All right, whenever you...
Okay.
Okay, good. This opens a work session on July 20th, 2020 of Hillsville City Council. Roll call.
Councilor Beachhead.
Present.
Councilor Rigney.
Here.
Councilor Palmer.
Here.
Councilor Hinckley.
Here.
Mayor Studebaker.
Here.
Councilor Wilson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Awesome. Stand for the pledge, or? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so this section is focused around the citizen committees. As most of you know, we did a town forum public hearing on Saturday in the park discussing the various committees. We have 5 of them, and soliciting participation, answering questions. So why don't we start at the top? Planning committee?
So is it a committee or a commission? What are we going to call it?
It's a planning commission.
Okay. So I see 6 names applying for it. There's Ken, Margaret, Mark, Ed. Oh, well, that's why I have Ken twice. So sorry. Okay.
So we
And
have-
Christine. So we do have 5. So sorry.
So we have 5 people who've signed up for it.
Yes. So according to the rules, there are 5. The positions shall be numbered. Each member shall be appointed to a specific position, and they will be appointed for a 3-year term. And one member of the city council may serve as a non-voting ex officio member of the planning commission, and 5 members of the commissions shall constitute a quorum. So all 5, there have to be 5 on the commission, or it can't meet, and they all have to meet.
So the ex officio is not count.
Does not
toward
count as one of the 5.
So they've got to get 5 out of 5?
So yeah.
Ouch. Oh, that's kind of a high hurdle.
And don't know to be enough people there to.
Okay, well, it
We'll
is
be
what it is.
surprised. I mean, yeah.
They got to have all 5
They got to be
of them
dedicated.
there.
It's- yeah.
I guess, given that we only have 5, there's not really much that we can talk about. Are there any reasons why we aren't ready to vote on them?
I think,
Well, we're not voting.
Yeah, we're not
No, we
voting.
can't
so
make a decision
these,
tonight.
they're appointed by the mayor. Yeah.
Are we just?
With the
We can't
consent
take
of the
any
council.
official action in a work session.
Right.
Yeah, we know that.
So,
He doesn't
Are
see
we
it.
not, are we just letting people on committees because they applied, or are we letting them on because they'd be a good fit for the committee? Are we just, I'm not sure what we're doing. Are we just, okay, if you apply, you get on, or is there?
I don't really see how we can be selective when we barely
yeah,
have
when you
enough
only have 5
applications. I
applicants.
think
Now,
we
the
have to
parks,
take
there
all
may be
comers.
some discussion. A lot of people applied for parks. But, yeah, there.
are we going to request a counselor that wants to attach to the planning commission?
I think this would be a good time to do
Right.
that. Makes sense. So back to Janet's question. Are we voting on them because they applied or because they would contribute? I would like to think that everybody who's applied would contribute. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jen?
I don't know if it's just about contributing, or if they'd be a positive contribution to the committee, or.
Well, I have a question. One of the members that has an applicant here for the planning commission. I need to know, I thought we voted that person out of City Hall at
So
one
did I.
point in time. And I need to know what the official ruling is on that, Jessica? Christine
We planned
Alfred?
it, we did what to City Hall?
We voted the person out of here. She can no longer come into City Hall.
It was my understanding that what we voted on was to vote her off of the budget committee, but it's
Well,
also.
that's what I'm saying. We don't
this
know,
was
I
a
don't know.
long
I want to find out what it was. I thought it was out of City Hall.
Yeah, see, I thought it was off the
Because there was so much
budget.
division going on, and she was just,
Was it declared a trespass?
Well,
I actually don't think
I
that.
don't know. That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking for. I
he's
need to
asking
find out
for
what the legal
clarification.
ramifications is.
honestly, you only have 5 applicants, and the code clearly says that the person can be removed at any time if, for whatever reason. So, I mean,
Okay.
why not
And the commission is ran solely by the mayor.
appointed by, with the consent
No,
of the
it's-
council?
Okay.
Appointed by the mayor
Appointed
with
by
the
the mayor.
consent of the council. Same thing with removal. Removal by the mayor with the consent of the council.
Right.
Meetings are not
That is
run
what
by
I'm
the
talking
mayor.
about.
And then there's,
So,
Good.
and on top of that, there's one of us is attached, should be attached to.
Right.
Also, I believe, and I would just like to put this out there, that I believe when this was discussed before, you can't actually ban a citizen of the United States from engaging with their government at any level. It actually was
I also
brought
need
up.
to see that in writing.
Right, so.
Because I've seen people in Medford,
Right.
Central Point, and in Ashland,
Okay.
banded out of coming to City
Right.
Hall.
Can I finish my
Yeah.
thought, please? Because that was actually brought up at the federal level when President Trump was banning citizens on his social media, and it was addressed legally that he is not allowed to do that because he cannot block a U.S. citizen from addressing grievances the same way every other citizen is allowed to address grievances. So he was told he is not allowed to ban people from his social media. And so I would assume at that point, if you can't ban people from social media as a public figure, you can also not ban them from coming into City Hall.
Well, and I understand what you're saying. I want to see that in writing.
But we can choose to not put people on committees who are negative influences to our city. It's just a choice that we make.
Yeah.
Ron, if you could get us, can you get names from those cities of people who were banned?
Hey, you just call, well, I don't know if that's public information. You'd have to go through their minutes too. If they have record of it, yeah, I don't see why they can't. If it's got to be public record, you would
Okay.
think.
If you could get that, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
You can be legally trespassed from anywhere, which means that you are not allowed. I mean, if there's a police record of it and you get a legal trespass complaint, like a store can do to a customer, okay? This is not, well, it's,
The issue is that this isn't private property, this
Right.
is
I
public
think you can-
property. This is
Yes.
owned by taxpayers.
it's true, but, and I'm not quite sure on the law.
I'm not either.
That there's that would have to be the only way that I would see that anybody could be kept out of walking into City Hall was to have
don't
a
think there-
legal trespass.
There's a way that you
Okay,
can do
I'll look under the Oregon Revised Statutes myself. The point is I have to know what's legal and what's not, okay? We all just spent the last 3 years undoing things that the old regime did. And my point is why would I put somebody back into this that was part of that? Okay, that person was also arrested, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So, my point is, and this is all public information, you can, back to 2006, and it's called the DIRT Committee. That's what the Dirt Bag Council is what it was called. And, I don't know. That's okay. I just want to know so we don't step on toes here, so we don't hurt people's feelings. So this stays here unless you're going to streamline that too, and I really don't care.
Well, I mean,
We're
it's all
streaming now.
streaming.
Okay, so
My real question here is I want to know the legal repercussions. Can we ban a citizen? And I don't want to make statements like we banned a citizen.
Right.
I will
And
tell
that's-
you
because-
this, there was a resident of this town who came in here and was harassing the clerk to the point that she felt threatened and she called the police. The sheriff came and talked to the person outside and told him, that he was only allowed to come to this building to pay his utility bill,
Mhm.
and that was it. He was forbidden from coming here for any other reason.
Well, he probably could have challenged that, but
Yeah.
I mean, this
You know.
isn't even about necessarily banning her from the building. This is just about we can or we.
so if
Right.
we don't
It
appoint
doesn't
her,
have anything to do with banning from the building. It's just an appointment to a committee.
if we don't appoint her, we don't have enough people for the committee.
There is that.
It's 5 people, right? We've got 5. We need
There have to be
we've got
5 or it doesn't meet.
And I think,
And if they don't meet, they are, what is
Well, right
it?
now, the council is acting as the planning commission because we don't
Mhm.
have one. So, for example, coming up next month, we're going to have a variance request. Normally, that would go before the planning commission, and then they'd make their recommendations to the council. But now, the council is acting as the planning commission. So, in the future, the planning commission would handle things like that.
So that the council could continue to act as a planning commission until we got more.
Well, that's what we have been doing, yes.
Okay, well, that's too easy.
Any other input?
I personally would like to, at some point, consider the planning commission and get a clarification on the law specifically about banning someone. Also because I see the planning commission as a vital commission because it allows for citizen input into these planning decisions that are coordinated and educated, because the planning commission is supposed to be doing research. It's not just their feelings about a topic. They're supposed to have gone over the plans and be educated. And that way we can get an educated recommendation from the citizenry on how they feel about it. So I do think it's a very important commission to keep in the forefront.
Which goes to Janet's point of let's make sure this is the right person, not just a warm body.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Okay, well then, in order for me to get a sense of where one is on each of these 4 or 5 committees, I would like to just go an up or down vote, yes, no, on each of our applicants for each of the committees. So I know where you are on that. Okay, so planning. The applicants, the order that I have them, Mark Warwick, in favor?
yes,
Hands, please. Okay, 5. Opposed? 0. Ken Martin. Favor? 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 0. Margaret Dial, in favor? Opposed? 0. Ed Cooper, in favor? 3. Opposed? 3, 2. And Christine Alford, in favor? Opposed? Okay, 2, 3. Okay, I will take this in consideration, and then also we're going to get some, can we get some clarification from our attorney, Jessica?
About being banned from the building?
Yeah,
I
or
mean-
just the whole inclusion, if there needs to be,
That's all we really need.
And again, it doesn't have.
Yeah, it really doesn't have anything to do with that. This is just whether or not you want this person on the committee.
Yeah.
It's,
You know, I get that.
Do they meet here?
Oh,
where-
yeah.
I don't know where else they would meet, yeah,
in the park.
in the park.
Our milestone last weekend. Okay, so I think I've got how you feel on that. Parks. So the good news on the parks, we had lots of interest. Let's see, so why don't we take them in order?
Can we clarify for those who might not have gone through, because we're only allowed one out-of-town member, so perhaps we should separate the in-town from the out-of-town. when we
Great
do
idea.
that.
There are 3 out-of-towners.
With Kate, Steve, and
Ed.
So,
Steve Kingsley.
Ed Cooper. Kate, Steve, and Ed Cooper are the out of town.
Paige is out of town?
Yes.
What about
wait,
Pruitt?
Ed's not on.
Yes, Paige is out of town, Ed Cooper's out of town, and Steve Kiesling is out of town.
But Ed isn't on Parks.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
He
he
applied
is.
for both.
He's
He
a,
applied for both.
okay, so why don't we first discuss the in-towners? And then we'll go over those 3 out-of-towners. Okay, Jan Fish is on my top.
Jan Fish, you in town? Yes, she is.
Yes.
Are we limiting the number of in town on this? How many?
5, I believe, 4 and 1, 5 total.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's only one out of town per committee.
And is that per the charter?
No, that's just
So
something that
that's-
was decided in a previous council meeting when they
So
first
we
came
can-
up with this.
so
I
we-
mean, really,
We
yeah.
could do it whatever we want. It doesn't have to be 4 and 1. It's not in the charter. It could be just all
Right.
things.
We decided
It could be
the
3 in and 3 out.
Well, I thought what we had just discussed on Saturday was we were going to stick with those limits as delineated here.
It's up to you guys. I mean, it's something you
But
just
we
made
don't
up
have
anyway.
to because
so
it's not in
you
the
can-
charter. So,
Maybe
But I
we don't
believe
have
in the
to. This-
previous, that's what we agreed to in the previous council meeting. I could look at the minutes, but that it was a total of 5, 4 in and 1 out.
Right, and the argument there is one I still agree with, is that the parks is paid for by the citizens and taxpayers of Gold Hill. And so by allowing one out of town gives an out of town opinion of the people who do use our parks. But I think that an equal representation on a committee that is representing public taxpayer paid for land seems a little out of proportion, since they aren't actually contributing to the cost of upholding the fence.
And my feeling, if we're not going to have rules, if we've got some flexibility, I would hate to see a really good applicant be eliminated because of something that we're not really going to be bound by. And in this case, there's a bunch of really good people.
there are.
And the reason why I bring that up, I guess I can speak my opinion on this, that Paige Pruitt sounds like a trained parks person.
Yes.
You know, she did it in Ashland, which has superb parks. She's got additional training in addition to that at the school. Kiesling is the other one who is an out-of-towner, but boy, talk about a key guy who's been carrying the torch for the city for 20 years on our river stuff.
Well, and you could probably maybe, I mean, you have to be really careful about conflict of interest because, you know, he has so much interest in his long-term plans for the river and that sort of thing.
Well, maybe, but everybody who's on one of these committees has got a reason why they're interested in. Many people,
But this is a reason that could make him a lot of money.
And it's
So
a
that's pretty big conflict of
financial,
interest.
it's a
And
financial
it's a
conflict of
good,
interest.
it's a very good
How's it
reason.
gonna make you money?
It's a very good reason.
If he could develop the park into a whitewater park and.
And he wouldn't make any money.
That's not gonna make him money, it's gonna make the city money.
We're
So
more
his,
than welcome him to do it, as a matter of fact, at his expense, because we ain't putting out a dime to,
So
He's
his
not gonna make any
adjacent
money.
I might get some
property
grant money.
is not, so in my opinion, I do agree with Malia, it may be a financial conflict of interest considering the fact that his personal property is adjacent right across the river from where he wants that whitewater park.
Well, so's Larry Holmes, he lives on the river.
Well, he lives on the river.
So
He
is your
doesn't-
property.
My property is too. I see it as an excellent example to get
That
somebody
makes
that
no
knows what
sense
they're
to me.
doing out there too. I mean, a vested interest, money-wise, the whole 9 yards. If there's counter to that, if there's counter to making money in this system still today, I assure you that Second Amendment is still in effect. No,
And I do want to remind you that the Parks Commission is just to give recommendations to the council. The council will still have final say over
Yes,
anything.
right.
So,
That's all commissions, yes?
I just personally think that it should be considered, and while yes, Larry Holm does live on the river, he does not live directly across from a proposed project that would be under Parks Commission.
Okay. Does he have a hotel on his property next to the river?
No.
Does he have a
He's got-
outdoor school, he does classes and gets money for services rendered?
No.
I mean, every one of us in here, if we have dirt in this town, if we do our jobs right, we're gonna make ourselves money by our property appreciating and by the relative attractiveness of town getting better.
thank
Well,
you.
at that
So-
point, then I honestly would address it with the Oregon Ethics Commission, because I see it as a financial conflict of interest.
Okay, all right, that's,
Yeah,
that's your problem.
and I would hope that that would certainly be challenged and thrown out the window before it got involved the first guy's desk. And just like we're saying, I live on the river. I have a vested interest, a financial interest in this, just like Brad said. And
Right.
I'm on the city council. Am I on a conflict of interest to have to improve anything on the river or anybody's property?
What I am saying is you do not live directly across from a major proposed project. And if we were addressing a major proposed project that could potentially financially impact you, then yes, you would ethically be required to recuse yourself from said vote.
No.
I would certainly.
Yes.
That's a touchy one. I mean,
That's a touchy
Okay,
one.
all right, so.
Let's move on.
This is a valid point, and it is one to be considered, whether to say it would preclude a person from being involved, that's probably why the ethics committee hears things and renders decisions. But I think it's true that every one of us in here has a vested interest in town doing better, and that's why we're working for free at night. So that is not necessarily, if he had a hotel on his property right near that project, that would be an obvious conflict.
Well, it's like Jessica said, they just make recommendations to the committees, we make the final decision. And if we see if somebody's gonna have financial gain, or we can't literally
Well, yeah, using.
say, yes, we're gonna pass this, so.
Well, if you can only pick one out of town, or maybe I suggest you just pick Paige and end this whole
Yeah,
dispute one way or the other.
that's exactly where I was going.
And it doesn't
We've already
matter.
got Ed
It's
on
not like
planning,
Steve's not gonna
so
still
he's-
hang out and help us with the
Right,
parks,
and
whether or
Ed's
not he's
already
on
on
the Parks
planning,
Commission.
so,
However, again, we are excluding a person who by far, knows the most of any person in this town from a volunteer role where he can provide guidance. That just makes no sense to me. That's
knows
like
more than
having,
Paige, how? I mean,
what's that?
how does he know more than Paige?
He's leading the charge on one of these projects that's maybe gonna put us on
Right,
the
and
map. She knows about watering cycles, okay, that's valid. Ashland Parks, I think, are the top, I mean, that's gotta be the gold standard. I just think that a Kiesling, who has really shown that he's had the interest over literally decades, it makes no sense to me not to include him. Especially if we're gonna have wiggle room on our 4-in-1 composition.
I don't think that we've decided if we're going to have wiggle room on the 4-in-1.
So
Okay.
maybe we should decide that first, because we shouldn't be deciding it based on who's applying.
Okay, so you want 4 in the city? We have 4 applicants
We do.
from in the city,
That's easy,
so
about the 3 outside.
They
Okay.
didn't make the cut.
So let's start with the ones in, so the first one I have on my pile is Jan Fish. Obviously knows a lot about our history, brings a lot in terms of historical contribution that way. Anyone worked with her when she was on council?
She was mayor, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yes, one point in time. I'm trying to put a face to the name.
She's been in the audience a couple times. Pete used to ask her for advice about historical things when she was here.
I think they ran it for 38 years.
Yeah.
So that's running a kind of a park-like
They're
center.
she and her husband are the impetus behind the skate park.
Behind the state park?
Skate?
Skate park.
Yeah.
Anything else there? Okay, contestant number 2, Lorraine Parks.
Well, her last name is Parks, so.
That's got to count for something. She's on First Avenue.
Lorraine also came to the meeting on Saturday and was
Yeah.
talking to me a lot about her ideas and what she'd really like to see go forward and being active and things, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know she's been involved, wasn't she
DRP.
the fishing platform? Yeah. So she's, again, demonstrated a long-term interest in things related to parks. Anyone else? Larry Holm.
Larry Holm is very involved in the community. I mean, it's either Larry or Carol Holm that's involved. The both of them do a lot for this city, and they're very invested.
I know they do a lot for Can Do, and Can Do is very involved with this town. They're both good citizens. I
They
mean,
also put together the community organization that connects all of the other community organizations so that nobody's overlapping any one
Oh,
thing.
I'm not bad.
Oh, no, I'm letting you know that
Yeah.
that's also something that they did.
Well, that
I like
that
them
was
both.
Carol, I think, not really Larry, but I think with these two, you kind of get a twofer.
Yeah.
Because you know they're talking over dinner table, and they're probably talking ideas back and forth, so
She's
that's,
really good at
that's a good
finance.
thing.
Okay.
Okay, Richard has a house in town, so he's an in-town guy. So Richard Hart, I met Richard about a year ago when I was beginning to try to push to get our fire abatement strategies going. And I guess he had worked with Fire District 3. He's to develop strategies for thinning out things and that. And I guess he also is a volunteer as an arborist.
He's already been in the park doing work, taking care of the
And
trees.
is that all volunteer?
Yes.
Yes.
And managing your trees is a huge part of the parks, of course. One falls, it's a few $100 minimum. So I think community area, that would really benefit the community. He can eyeball every tree in that park and tell us what needs to be pruned and tended to now more than probably us.
And I really like that when he came on Saturday, he engaged with the town hall. He didn't just show up. He was already talking about ideas that he wanted to implement and stuff that he had planned to do for next year without anybody even asking him to do that.
I'd say all of his hours of volunteerism count for something. Okay. And then there would be Steve and Paige, and who's the third one?
Ed.
Ed. Okay, so Ed Cooper.
He's vice president
Of Can Do.
Hi, vice president of Can Do.
I think the three probably fall.
I will say in Ed Cooper's, through his work with Can Do, he has been the lead on the Gold Hill cleanup projects that have happened in prior years. So getting the dumpster out there, getting Gold Hill in general cleaned up, and while it's not directly about parks, he does seem to have a real motivation against the trash and stuff like that and keeping the town looking nice. So he does seem to have a real kind of a positive attitude about that.
Yeah. And again, anyone who has worked hard on behalf of one of these groups here in town, that's got to count for a lot. Steve Keesley.
And now we're back where we started.
Now we're back. Anyone have anything to add to the conversation on Steve?
I think we just still need to decide whether or not we're taking one out-of-towner or if we're not sticking by what we previously said and taking more out-of-towners.
I like that. I like these two people both. I like Kiesling and
Pruitt.
and Page.
Yeah.
Okay, look at that resume. I mean,
Maybe we
it's
can
tight.
have Jessica check, do a little backgrounder and see where
I
Harry
agree.
came up with this. I'm
Yeah, it's
guessing
all
he
just
was-
made up. So,
Yeah, we can decide. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally don't, I mean, how, they're out of town, they're around the corner. It's not like they.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like they're living in
Right.
Yeah.
Grants Pass or.
I personally, I don't know, I feel like we agreed on the numbers and now because we have two people that we like, we're gonna change the rules instead of making the decision because it's based off of who applied and not what is needed and what we previously set as a rule.
However,
And if we're gonna delete, if we're gonna keep two because we like them, then why not keep three? Why get rid of any of them? Why not let Ed Cooper be on the Parks Commission?
that's not a
too?
bad idea either. Why not let everybody who wants to be on the Parks Commission just be on the Parks Commission? I mean,
Yeah, that.
I mean, really.
I
Why-
agree too. I agree. It's,
so on planning, we're gonna have to change the rules because we don't have enough for a quorum.
Well, we can't change the rules of the planning commission. That one is set in stone. That one we cannot change, but the rest of them we made up.
Okay, so based on our vote, I don't see the support for the fifth candidate, so we only have 4 candidates that I would recommend, which
So-
means we're gonna have to change something like 8.
We can't change anything, we just have to continue to hold that application process open, and when we have a fifth candidate that everyone approves of, then we can start the planning commission.
Great, all right. I would like you to see if there was a precedent for Harry coming up with this.
I'm sure he stole it from another town, because that's how all city managers do it. They just go to other cities' websites and find out what they've got.
Yeah, I'm no doubt that
But really,
there's some of that.
the Parks Commission is not set by any rules other than what the council determines. So if you guys just want to let everybody who applied be a part of the Parks Commission, then you can do that. I mean, really, it's,
Would that set a good balance on it? I mean, how many would there be?
I don't think it would hurt.
that would,
It'd be
harm
maybe
anything.
3 more.
so that would make 7 people on the Parks Commission. And hey, we have lots of parks, they're big spaces.
I actually really like the idea of an odd number rather
Yeah.
than an even number, because it's the same basis and argument for why we have a mayor as a
Right.
tie split.
And each commission is gonna,
So,
pick a president of its own commission, so.
Plus, there's always the quorum issue. If you've got a quorum of X and every single person has to
Yeah, but there's
show
no
up.
such thing as a
not.
quorum for these commissions.
For the parks?
Right, only for planning.
Only for
Okay,
planning.
okay.
I'll get into it. I'll talk about it later, tomorrow.
Okay,
Well, I can sort of live with that. Again, I think the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate to walk away from expertise and demonstrated interest in what we're doing because of something that sounds like it's an arbitrary number.
Well, and we have to look at, we need to get the public involved.
no, we can't vote during a
And
work
so
session.
the more the merrier.
Yeah, just
you know,
give
like
the
it's-
mayor his
All I
if you
know
consent
is-
to who the mayor is going to appoint, then you just tell him you consent, yeah. It sounds like everybody's in consensus with what
So
we
let's
just
get a show of
decided.
hands. Who's in favor of admitting?
And that
anyone
sounds
to-
kind of like a vote.
Well, I
Yeah.
got to vote on the last one. I need to know where people are in order
Yeah.
for me to make a recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
So, in order so that I understand where each of you are, who's in favor of everyone who applied to be part of the parks? 3 opposed?
No, I voted yes.
Oh, and did you vote yes or no?
I am, yeah, no,
You're no.
I'm voting no.
Okay. So 4-1, most would agree that all applicants. Okay. And then our newest, the B City Committee.
So, nobody filled out any applications and instead either emailed Jessica or called me and said, I want to be on the B City.
Yeah, it's not really the
So-
kind of club that the mayor appoints people to. Anybody who wants to be on B City can be on B City,
Yes.
so.
It's Lee Finney and Deb West, both want to be on B City. It's, basically the committee is so that we can belong to the national organization and follow the requirements that we need to continue to belong to the national organization.
Uh-huh.
We'll probably meet about 3 times a year and then have event tables at our events here in Gold Hill once COVID restrictions are up.
Okay. Had Lee Finney's name, so. you
I had
did-
already given you that, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Anyone have an objection to all comers on this committee, even though they haven't gone through the process? Okay, those in favor of all people who have been interested, including Lee Finney and Deb West?
You know, I don't think we're supposed to vote.
As I've said now 3 times, I would like to understand where you are so that I can make a decision.
But you don't make a decision on B City, that's what I'm saying. Anybody can belong to B City. It's not appointed by the mayor. It's just
And how about the ethics?
no one applied for the ethics, so there's nothing to vote on there.
And there's nothing in the charter about ethics committees.
Right.
As far as ethics, I would like to say that, like with planning, I think that we should keep the applications on the ethics committee open.
Yeah, absolutely.
even-
I think we should recruit
Right.
more than that, by the open and recruit. So,
So we're opening our application kind of as we see fit.
Well, nobody
We don't have
applied,
an
so
applicant.
we
Yeah.
don't, yeah.
Well, I mean, also, when you look at a committee, so, the Parks Committee, we're allowing all of the applicants on. Now, if, say, Ed Cooper decides he doesn't want to be a part of Parks Committee anymore, we would then reopen applications at that point and let somebody else in order to meet the requirements of that. Same thing with planning. I mean, it's not a lifelong appointment, so if for some reason somebody couldn't be there, we would just reopen the application process, so I don't see any difference between leaving ethics open right now.
Well, I'm just thinking ahead that we don't have a quorum for planning, so we're gonna have to open that one up.
Right.
We've already kind of talked about that. Parks, we wiggled the rules on that one, so we're gonna kind of make an executive decision on that, so that's fine. So, Ron?
Well, again, on all these other commissions, if we let the public, if it just, except for planning, okay? But if we just say, you put in an application, you want to be on it, let them be on it. And that way, Councilor Heatley, if someone does drop out, like, we still have 6 more people that, we still have a
Exactly.
quorum.
Exactly.
You know, so I think that makes sense. They're
Yeah.
kind of stacking their own deck. as you will.
I like the idea of extra people than a
Oh, yeah,
minimum for
I
a
do.
quorum. That's just calling out, you have to get everyone there every meeting.
Yeah, it just gets more people involved.
For things like the ethics committee, do we have a number for that committee? I wouldn't want to see 1 or 2 people on that.
I think there needs to be a minimum of
The one that
3.
Harry put together was recommended 3 members, all residing within city limits. But that,
I
again,
would say,
that's
yeah,
just
at
Harry's.
least 3.
I think 3 is a good number on the ethics committee personally, because again, tiebreaker, but also it, I think, prevents biases and blocks of potential witch hunts on something like an ethics committee.
And I'm not clear whether I can actually serve on it or would just be the liaison.
Liaison.
You
Yeah.
liaise. All of us would liaise with any of these, we can't be members.
Right.
So I guess I go back to the same issue about in or outside city limits. It seems to me that if some of these others allow for people who aren't in city limits, why should ethics?
Well,
They
we already had
certainly-
this discussion the last time around, and it's because ethics is going to involve our city government, and it should include our city residents.
Mhm.
It's-
Right.
But people on Upper River Road would be aware of complaints on that also.
But they don't vote for the city council.
We need an ethics committee, if you
Yeah.
ask me. It keeps us in check.
Right.
And that somebody, and I
Absolutely.
believe that somebody should be really involved in the ethics, you know, where they're in touch with the League of Oregon Cities, so we're not out here just throwing it, doing what we want. You know, that's what the ethics is all about.
But do you think they should be able to live outside of town?
Why not?
I personally see the ethics committee as the citizens holding our feet to the fire, and we should limit that to the people who actually vote for us. People in the county don't vote for us.
That's a good argument.
We are not answerable to them. We are answerable to citizens
Yeah.
within the city.
And this is the
Yeah.
conclusion you came to at the last meeting, was that the
Right.
ethics committee
That
should be
makes more sense to
composed
me.
of people within the city limits.
I'm suggesting liaison.
Yeah?
Well, you're not here for that.
I'm not sure, maybe you weren't.
So I guess we repost that and think about
Yeah,
how we can get a little bit
talk
more
to people,
participation.
you know, let people know.
Repost the planning too.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to get that planning. That's very important, that planning commission.
Yeah.
Very important. We're giving away dollars on that one.
Now,
Yeah.
since we are coming back to the planning commission, I would like to address the fact that we just opened up the parks and changed the rules because we liked more people who are applying to the Parks Commission. Meanwhile, we've decided to delay the one committee that is actually mandated by our charter because we don't like one of the applicants.
I agree with you. I think it
That to
stinks.
me
I mean,
does
I
not sound
understand,
social.
I totally, I've lived here for 20 years, I understand the reputation and history behind all of this, but she has a lot of knowledge, she really does. She's got gold history all in her head, Gold Hill history. And I think that these other people on this commission are strong enough people that they can keep her in check. And that I think that we should not be discriminating just because of history, I just
I
don't.
don't think anybody's discriminating, I just wanna know
Well,
what we
it's-
voted
yeah,
on,
just
is
say
it
you
still
don't want 'em
stand?
is discriminating.
That's not what I'm saying, I need to know the legal purpose. It was voted on that she was not supposed to be here, now if we let her back on, that's fine, I don't care, I'm not biased either way. That is what happened with her. So, do we just put
So
that
we need-
aside?
We need to find out exactly what happened.
So I
Exactly,
will
that's
go
what I'm
through the
asking.
files and I will find out whether she was just removed from the budget committee or whether she was removed from being involved in anything
Thank
other.
you.
I will find out exactly
All
what it
I'm
says
asking.
and I will let you know.
Just
Thank
to
you.
remind you, although these committees are mayor appointed, we're just giving our opinions, so.
Right.
Yes.
None of that matters.
Exactly.
He had the information.
And as I was saying before, they can also be removed by the mayor, so maybe you just let her in and give her a shot, and if she screws up, then you can take her back out again. That way we would have a planning commission. But I will find the answer to your question first.
Thank you.
Let's operate with full information before we go off anything. The other thing is, if public input is required and it's not here, let's post that and solicit involvement with that, because.
Okay, that one, again, has nothing to do with us. The Citizens Involvement Committee is completely run by citizens. The council has nothing to do with it.
We
If
don't
they want one
initiate
to
it, we don't
happen,
do anything.
they have to start it up themselves. It has nothing to do with us.
And then they call us and
Yeah.
say, we need Dwayne to come do a
Yeah,
recording.
all we are
We
required
need
is
a
if they have a
counselor."
meeting, we require that we provide them with someone to record the minutes, and that's it.
Right.
It's up to them to start that committee on their
Okay.
own.
All right. Anything else anyone want to add? Well, very good. Thank you for your input. I'll think about this, discuss with Jessica, see what she comes up with her little research project. If anyone else can come up with some evidence behind some of these things that we've questioned, that would be greatly appreciated. And then we will go ahead and repost committees, huh?
Yep.
On the Bee City front, I would like to remind counselors that water is difficult to come by for insects right now, and if you take a pie tin and put marbles in it and fill it with water, it will help your bees to get a drink of water during this heat drop.
Marbles?
Marbles.
What's the purpose of the marbles?
It gives them a place to land because they can't just, they need
Oh, that's why I
someplace
put
to
rocks on
land.
it.
So you want the level to be right at the top
Right
of the
below,
level,
so they have a
where
place to land and
okay.
take a
Thank you.
drink, and it will help our pollinators.
Put it in the shade.